Hello. In this video, I am going to show you an overview of Contabo, their website, VPS configuration options, ordering process, and the control panel they give you as a result. Along the way, I am going to tell you about some of the good and bad things I found about them over the past couple of years of using them, as well as the odd trick that potentially results in even lower prices than they advertise. So, without further ado, I'll get cracking. The link in the YouTube description takes you directly to this page. Using the link won't cost you anything, but if you decide to stick with Contabo in the longer term, this channel gets something that helps offset the cost of making this video. Anyway, while on this screen, the first thing to do is to confirm my language, country, and currency are as I expect, which means that all prices I show are accurate. I will come back to this Cloud VPS webpage in a minute, as that is what Contabo is most well known for. If I quickly show you the other options first. This Cloud VDS or Virtual Dedicated Servers webpage shows you what they offer in this area. These instances are somewhat pricier but more powerful than a typical VPS, as their CPUs are dedicated to you, but still stack up well cost-wise against other VDS providers. These are the specialist storage VPS they offer that have big hard disks, but a little less RAM than their more all-purpose cloud VPSs. Finally, if you are looking for a completely dedicated server, there are two options that Contabo offer. First, you can purchase a brand new server, which gives you the most recent and fastest resources Contabo offer, or if you need a new machine where you can guarantee only you can access it for legal, compliance, or risk reasons. However, this tends to be the most expensive option, and too expensive for me. Finally, there is the outlet servers, which is where Contabo sell access to their pre-used servers that are a few years old now, but far cheaper than their brand new range. However, the only machines I have direct experience of, having used a few over the years, are their cloud VPS ranges, and also for what they are best known for. The VPS range of all VPS providers, and Contabo is no different here, is where you share the resources of a physical server, like CPUs, with other VPS running on the machine. It is therefore important to run some basic speed tests on each to ensure that the VPS provider doesn't have a policy of trying to run too many VPS on one server to save costs, but resulting in each of the VPSs running slowly. I will get to that in a minute. Contabo's VPS's main selling point is the large amount of resources they give you for the price. So, for example, on their base model, you still get 4 CPUs and 8 gigabytes of RAM, and some 32 terabytes of network traffic, all for less than $9. I originally started using VPS a few years ago by using the AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud offerings, but found them all expensive as I was only using their compute virtual machines. I then, like most people, moved on to the likes of DigitalOcean, Linode, and Vultr, as they are all both faster and cheaper. Finally, I came across Contabo, which seems to offer the best value for money, but I wanted to compare it to what I was currently using. So, if I put up a simple slide on the screen containing information taken from each, to get the same level of resources from the likes of Linode, Vultr, or DigitalOcean as the Contabo small instance provides, I would need to pay out some $48 for each. To confirm that Contabo weren't just able to provide access to these large and cheap resources just by running hundreds of VPSs on a single server, I developed a VPS speed test which looked at almost 50 VPS providers before whittling the list down to about a dozen, on which I tested the CPU and disk speeds. I will leave a link to the full speed test video in the comments, but for ease, I extracted the results for just the VPS providers we are comparing in this video, which I have put on screen. It shows that the under $15 instances that this speed test focused on, the disk speeds between all 4 providers are similar, but with the approximately $9 Contabo instance just coming out on top. However, when it came to CPU speeds offered, Contabo was the clear winner, being some 3.5 times faster than the second-place more expensive instance. Although this test did not cover network speeds, fellow YouTuber Tony Teaches Tech set up a simple website and proved they were all about the same when it came to responsiveness and page display speeds. Looking back at the earlier comparison slide, Contabo gives you 32 terabytes of free traffic per month, which is about 5 or 6 times the other $48 instances. However, it is here that I found the first negative thing to say about Contabo, and that you need to be aware of. The Contabo network the instance is joined to runs at 200 megabits per second, and not the more normal 1000 megabits per second network that most other VPS providers have. This means it should be fine running something like a website, as you would run out of resources on the instance well before hitting any network limits if the website grew very large. But if you plan to move some very big files or many smaller files totaling, say, 50 megabytes in size, this instance may take a few extra seconds to complete the task than it would on the other 3 VPS providers. Returning to the VPS or Virtual Private Server web page, I select this smallest one to show you the main configuration screen. So now I have selected the small Contabo instance and want to configure it. Before I go any further, let me just mention the one-off setup fee. This is only charged for the first month and reflects the costs involved in setting up the new instance and potentially user account. Other VPS providers don't appear to charge this, but they actually in effect do. What they do is up the price of the monthly instance to say $12 from $11, so as to cover the complete cost of providing the instance over its typical lifetime. What that means is the monthly cost of the instance will include a part of the monthly setup fee, so the only real way you won't pay much of it is if you only want the instance for a few hours or days. This will be offset by users who keep the instance for longer than the typical instance's lifetime, as in effect, they are subsidizing these shorter-term users. As a result, if I was looking for an instance for just a few days, I would use something like DigitalOcean, who charge by the hour, as the amount of setup fee included in the total price at that stage would be minimal. Once I get to about a month, especially given the number of resources the instance has, I use Contabo. Let me just show you a trick I have recently found that makes the prices charged even cheaper. If I go up to the top menu and change my currency to euros, the prices shown are now in Contabo's base currency and are much cheaper. Given the current exchange rates and taking into account the approximately 30 cents I would be charged by PayPal or a typical credit card company to change it back to dollars or whatever my home currency is, it equates to a total price of about $13.50, a saving of $4 over what was shown earlier. It also means that the ongoing monthly price for this instance, as it stands now, is some $2 less than the previously displayed dollar figure, at about $6.50. So I now make all purchases on the Contabo website in euros because I have found it is cheaper. Moving on, for length of term, I select 1 month, and I suggest you do too, as that gives you flexibility, if after using it you decide Contabo is not for you. If I had selected something like 12 months here, the one-time setup fee would be removed, but I would be committed to a 12-month contract. For region, as I want this instance for San Francisco-based users, I pick the nearest one. For storage type, unless you need the extra space an SSD provides, I would suggest you pick the faster NVMe as I do. When it comes to image, if I open the most popular one, which is Ubuntu, you can see that they offer all 3 long-term supported options. However, I would not suggest you use the older 2018 version for new instances, unless you have to for compatibility reasons, because it's now getting pretty close to its end-of-life support period. For the other 2, I have made videos about each, showing how you would add the Ubuntu desktop, if you need it. I also made a video about how by changing a couple of settings, I can make remote controlling an Ubuntu desktop run quicker. Then come custom images, where if you don't have a custom storage area and want one, you can purchase it here to store any ISO you like. To show its use, I made a video where I chose the Kali Linux ISO, something that Contabo don't have an off-the-shelf version for, and installed it, to demonstrate how it works. For Windows Server, they have all the main data center versions available. Or if you are not yet ready to commit to the full version, if you click the All Videos link below, you will find videos I made where I used the Microsoft evaluation versions instead. And of course, because the Instance Control Panel has a reinstall option, which I will be showing you in a minute, you can change between different operating systems on this one instance, including those shown on these videos. And because you can always load your own ISO and install from there, you can also try out a multitude of other operating systems, all without impacting your local PC. The remaining two panels are shown here. For root password, I paste in something long, complex, and not found in a dictionary. For networking, as I don't need the options of private networking or an additional IP address, I leave the options unchanged. Looking through the add-ons section, this first object storage dropdown shows how much of their Amazon S3 storage you want to purchase. Then comes the backup space option. I will pause here as this is the area of their offering that I think they need to improve most. Most VPS providers have a simple tick box option where you request a backup, and they take care of how it's made and stored. Here you buy backup space that can be only used in this region and are responsible for whether you are creating a file backup or more of an image backup. That's okay, I hear you say, as you can just use the snapshot process instead. Until I tell you that snapshots last some 3 months and are then deleted. It is these complications that made me create a simple backup process video, where I show you how to use the much cheaper or even free worldwide file storage systems like Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, or about 30 others. Moving on, I don't want Contabo staff to manage the server for me, nor do I want additional monitoring software. Finally, for SSL certificate, if I ever need one, I will use the free Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. I just might need to watch other YouTube videos to see the steps involved first. Now I am finished, I hit Next. So now I have selected and configured the small Contabo instance. So now I will show you what's involved. This first screen is where you put your details, address, email, and phone number. On the subsequent payment screen, you can either fill in your credit card details or pay by PayPal. Before the order is placed and paid for, you are presented with a screen that lists all the configuration details chosen, allowing you to review them before placing it. After you have placed the order, you will be presented with an order confirmation screen. It will have an estimated delivery time for a typical VPS of 3 hours, but it is normally completed in 1 or 2. When the VPS is ready, you will get an email detailing how you can access it. I have put my email on screen, which I have redacted for security reasons, but just so you can see what to expect. In the email, you will find the web address for their web-based control panel, which I will run through in the next section. The web address of their web-based control panel is in the email, alongside the user ID and password you will need to log in. After logging in, you will take into the welcome screen. Throughout this part of the video, you will see that I have blanked out any personal information or any VPS identification like IP addresses for security reasons. Anyway, this first screen shows the services that I have on the account, like domains I have purchased, and both dedicated and virtual private servers. So in my case, it gives details of the VPS and the American West Coast location where I chose to host it. Under the Manage button, I have a number of VPS-specific options. I can firstly control the VPS, which just takes me to the normal VPS control panel, which I will be showing you later, so for now I will skip over it. If I instead select to upgrade the VPS, it will list out all the available VPS sizes above the one I have. It also asks if I would like a live migration, where everything is copied as is, or basically a newly built, clean, bigger VPS. I can move the VPS to a different region if I choose to. The add-on option allows me to order any of the about 10 extras that it originally offered to me when I newly configured the VPS. I can order Windows, and if selected, it would ask me which of the 4 server versions I wanted. Double my NVMe storage to 100 gigabytes, if after some time I am finding I have used most of the 50 gigabytes I originally requested. I can reinstall or switch to a new operating system or panel if I want to. I can run a small troubleshooting help system if I'm having trouble connecting to the server. I can run the rescue system that boots the server up from one of about 4 different CD images. I can change the server's name, which I'll do. At the moment, you will just see the server's IP address to identify it on subsequent screens. Now, if you are anything like me, I am hopeless using IP addresses to identify a server and find naming them far better, especially if there is more than one server in the future. Finally, I can cancel the VPS if I decide to, which means the server will still exist for now, just until next month's renewal, where it will be deleted rather than renewed, and no money will be taken. It provides API details if you are ever wanting to control the VPS programmatically. There is a customer details screen if I ever need to change anything. If I decide I want to install from my own CD image or provide a hard disk image in QCOW2 format, here it allows me to purchase my own storage area to hold those custom images if I don't have one. If not, I can use any of Contabo's standard images, which you will see listed here. I can access any of my ordered S3 type storage here. If I have multiple servers and wish to set up a private network between them, I would do so here. The data processing agreement screen is typically only used by larger companies that plan to hold user identification data on their servers. The billing screen is pretty self-explanatory, as is the payment method screen. Both the server control and VDS screens show as empty, as it recognizes this account has neither. Then we come to the main VPS panel. The server is identified by IP address and name, which I provided earlier. I wait for the web page to finish updating. This first column shows the default user, which is usually root. However, if you have reinstalled an operating system, I have known this to be wrong as its main user after the reinstall was called admin. So be aware and check any emails or documentation carefully if you are doing this. The host system just gives an identifier to Contabo in case they need to know on which physical server it is running. I can see that the server is switched on, as shown by the blue, not black, screen image. Also, on this screen, I can restart, start, or stop the server completely. The Cloud Init toggle switch enables extra features for automation and VPS security on future reinstalls. I can initiate the main reinstallation process for this VPS from here, or start it in rescue mode as discussed earlier. The snapshot button allows you to take an image of the current state of the server or restore a previous one, so can be very useful if you are making changes to the server and may need to reverse them if they don't go well. The small server has a limit of just 1 snapshot, with the larger VPSs having between 2 and 4 depending on their size. Please be aware that snapshots only last for some 30 days, so cannot be treated as a long-term backup. So either order backup space in this region and use that, or follow the backup process I showed you to back up the VPS to a major cloud provider like Google Cloud, Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, or about 30 others. Many of these cloud storage providers, like Google Drive in particular, offer a sizable free basic tier of storage for new accounts that can often be big enough for a basic VPS disk backup image. The Manage Blue button has many of the options that I showed you earlier. However, the password reset option allows you to reset the main root or administrator user on the VPS. The VNC information and VNC password reset options reminds you how and with what credentials you can access the VPS with by using a VNC client to see the server's screen via VNC. This equates to the web-based consoles some VPS providers have and is most use if the server is not booting correctly and so other connection methods are not working. For security, because VNC connections are not encrypted, please access the VPS using SSH or remote desktop where possible. I also suggest you turn it off when not in use. Because all of these options are available from the web console, as they are for most VPS providers, the Web Control Panel password is actually all that is protecting your VPSs, regardless of your current complex VPS-specific password, as that can just be reset. It is important, therefore, that the log-in password to any VPS provider's website control panel is long, complex, and not found in a dictionary or, say, on your Facebook page. The IP management screen can be useful if you have many servers and you want to have a simple overview. The OS reinstalls page just shows you the progress of any reinstalls you have set running. The domains page, which I have never used as I purchase all domains via Google Domains instead, just lets you register or transfer in a previously purchased domain. The DNS zone management page allows you to manage DNS settings for a domain you have already purchased. Reverse DNS is mainly used to track the origin of a website visitor, the origin of an email message, etc. It is usually not as critical as the classic DNS. Finally, there are the various tutorials or frequently asked questions section that Contabo provide you easy access to. Hopefully this video has shown you round the Contabo website, their ordering process, how I selected and configured one of their servers, as well as the web-based control panel I got access to as a result. This should hopefully mean that you feel more familiar with the whole process if you ever decide to purchase from Contabo in the future. Given my almost 2 years of Contabo use now, I believe it is not really suitable for beginners, mainly because of the lack of an off-the-shelf backup option, and they don't offer hourly pricing like some VPS providers do. However, it has proven to be the fastest and best value for money VPS I have yet found. This is not because they use more up-to-date technology than other VPS providers, they don't, but because they seem to give you more CPUs and RAM than the other providers do for the same cost, and as a result their instances seem to run quickest because they provide a lot of it. This has been borne out by the various speed tests I have run. Hopefully you have found this video both interesting and informative. If so, please consider pressing the like button so it gets shown to others via the YouTube algorithm. On screen you can see the video that YouTube has selected especially for you based on your viewing history. And if you want to see more instructional videos like this one in the future, click on the Cloud Tech logo. Thanks for watching.